You want to get on this side or you want to go?
We're gonna answer some questions. You ready for some questions?
Right? There we go.
No.
You gonna go?
He's like, no thanks. Should be really quick. Like
Okay.
I mean, or depends,
Yeah.
on the circumstances. But so I always ask. The first thing I ask you is, could you tell us your name and about the foundation you started?
Yeah.
Why we're here today?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
My name is Bruce McIntyre, BruceMcIntyre the third, and I am the founder of the SaveaRose Foundation, which is named after Amber Rose Isaac and is in her honor. So what we do at the SaveaRose Foundation is we combat and dismantle the systemic flaws within the medical system, and we're trying to redirect the course of birthing equity towards better birthing solutions.
And I mean, you're the reason why I came to this first park in the first place for the Mother's Day event last year. And could you tell us a little bit about your journey that started about 2 years ago and where it is now today? And I know it's a big question to ask, but
So around this time last year, 2 years ago, Amber Rose Isaac transitioned. She passed away giving birth to my son from an unscheduled emergency C-section that stemmed from medical negligence throughout her entire pregnancy. Um, you know, we were giving birth on April 20th, 2020, which is when I originally said that she passed away right after giving birth to my son. But I didn't want my son and you know the ceremony of her death being in the same day, so I moved it a day after, and we said that she passed away April 21st, 2020, and I jumped into this advocacy work almost immediately. Actually, she advocated for women, and she knew more about maternal health than I did. She knew more about midwives and doulas, which I was still kind of being introduced to. So I didn't know too much about it. I was a little new, but I knew how to advocate. I was advocating for Black lives and human rights, civil rights, um, and I just remember leaving the hospital and just like in shock that she's not coming home with me, um, and that I had to leave my son there for a week or two while he was in NICU, and that was really doing something to me. So when I got home, I couldn't sleep. Um, Going into an empty room, an empty bed, where your partner shared space is just super hard. Not knowing that that's never gonna happen again, and that your life is completely altered. Um, and I started a GoFundMe in her honor because we had to pay for unexpected funeral expenses, which was a lot. I had to come up with $30,000 in like in like 2 weeks, and I was gonna ask family for help and stuff like that, and it just got to the point where I needed help from the community. And I wrote her piece, I wrote her story, I wrote what happened to her because before she passed away, a couple of days before she passed away, she wanted to write a tell-all about the incompetence, the negligence that she had been dealing with from the medical system, um, throughout all her trimesters. Um, and I felt like I needed to finish that for her. And then after she passed away, her tweet went viral. Um, our GoFundMe went viral. We raised enough money for her funeral expenses, um, and with the leftover money, I thought I really need to honor her and make sure that this isn't happening to other fathers, other children, mothers, so they aren't dealing with that it's such a hard feeling to really get over, um, and that's not something that I wanted for other families. So I started advocating immediately for her. Um, I was we were going viral. I started making connections and was on the news every week, advocating for her, and it got to the point where I'd done so much advocacy work that people were really paying attention to what I was saying, and they really started to look into the maternal health crisis. And then it just blew up even further, and then I started speaking on larger platforms, um, and really bringing forth the knowledge, the data, and just what was known so far about maternal health. Um, it got to the point where I started doing international advocacy work, where I started speaking um, to people in London, all throughout the UK, in Paris, Uganda, Africa, um, Thailand, India, so many places. I started advocating for these families because we started to realize this is going on to women of color around the world. Um, and that's where I really started to get a lot of media attention on me. Um, I started educating um, medical students, like such as Harvard and Yale, Columbia, New York School of Med. Um, just educating people on Amber's story, what happened to Amber, what could have been done differently. Because unfortunately, I found out what could have been done differently after the fact that she had passed away. And that was just such a hard thing to really go through. Um, but yeah, right now, fast forward, we're still trucking through. Still have a lot of momentum. We've been spearheading this movement to the point where we have been advocating for midwifery, freestanding midwifery-led birthing centers, because we need more around the city. At the time I was doing my research, we only had two in New York. One was in Buffalo, so there were literally women traveling 5 hours to go to Buffalo just to give birth. And I'm thinking, the Bronx doesn't have one. Um, when we were trying to, get midwifery and doula care, Amber was already high risk at this point. So we were unable to go to a birthing center. We were unable to have a home birth. And I just wanted to grant that opportunity to other mothers, to other families. So right now we're in the process of opening our birthing center. Um, it's still going to take a little bit of time. However, I've been crafting legislation alongside state legislators, city council members, assembly members, listening and partnering with the birth workers, the midwives, the doulas, the OBGYNs that have been helping, and really just trying to gain as much knowledge as I could. Um, and we actually got our bill passed for our midwifery-led birthing center. However, our bill did get completely gutted, but it still gave us a little bit of room to operate and obtain a birthing center. That's going to take a little time to build and have up. So in the meanwhile, we have Womb Bus, which is a health and wellness on wheels. It offers all these different services and education up until it can provide little clinical care, which is a process a little later down the road. But we figured, we need something now. This is a dire situation, um, and we need to serve the underserved members of the community immediately. So we have Womb Bus coming at May 23rd. It's going to serve 5 locations around the Bronx, and then hopefully we can serve the Bronx and beyond and expand throughout the city. We have the Amber Rose Issacs Access to Home Birth Scholarship Program that offsets the cost of insurance premiums. So whatever insurance doesn't cover, the scholarship program covers that. Since Amber's death of May in 2020, we've been able to help over 60 families have home births and birthing center births.
My work, I'm gonna jump in. We had our second son at home. The first one was born with the midwife, but in hospital. But my work was gonna pay for it and all this stuff, and they said they were gonna pay for 80%, and they ended up paying like $600. We had to pay $12,000 for the home birth.
Yeah,
and it took us years
that sounds
to pay
about
that
right.
off.
That sounds about right. And it's because they're making so much money in these hospitals, and insurance providers don't want to cover home births. They don't want to cover home births. They don't want to cover birthing center births, even though that option is way less expensive. Um, yeah, insurance payouts don't want to cover that. They want to cover in-hospital births, which is also what we're trying to change. Not only through the scholarship program, but with we're lobbying for universal health care for all New Yorkers. Because if you have insurance, you should be able to, have birth wherever you damn sure want to please. You should be able to birth however, whenever, wherever you want to, with your insurance. So that's also what we're trying to change as well, because it is the better birthing option. It's statistically proven to be the better option. And over 50% of the cesareans being done in these hospitals aren't necessary. So they're cutting open more than half the women that they need to, in order to set up incentives for themselves, because they're making about 50% more than what they would for a natural birth.
I think it's a profit-driven thing.
Oh, it's definitely a profit-driven thing. It's definitely a
It's a
profit-driven.
systemic problem for like the black and brown communities, but like it's also a problem I think just in medicine in general, how
Yes.
they're treating birth. And it took me as part like to realize over having two kids and learning what I've learned to like, and I did have a home birth, but if you would have asked me that before I had my first son, I would have never thought
Never.
that is an option.
Never.
But then once you learn this is natural, the body's a natural thing,
Mm-hmm.
birthing's a natural process,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're with supportive people, like, and like, so why do you think that like it's such a problem for black and brown people in this country? Versus, is it systemic racism? Do you think it's more? Do you have any insight into that?
It's definitely systemic racism. There's been this bias agenda that's been infiltrating and violating our human and civil rights for a very long time, since the 1850s, 1815, and then it was introduced into the hospital system in 1830s. And this is the same system. We're still following the the care um, that J. Marion Sims was offering, and he was operating on slaves, and he was the one saying that black and brown women can withstand pain better because we have thicker skin. Figuratively speaking, we have thicker skin, but not not really. We bleed just like everybody else. We have organs just like everybody else. But of course, we're treated differently. So it's definitely something systemic. It's something that they've been making money off of us for, and really how it outpours into our community. Because whenever a situation happens like this, there's really no rehabilitation for this. Whenever my partner died, the hospital didn't do whatever they could to make sure that my mental health was intact. Instead, they were trying to throw drugs at me, like Xanax and other powerful antidepressants. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how am I supposed to take care of my newborn child who just lost his mother if I'm doped up on drugs and I'm left incompetent to take care of him? And this is a perpetuated cycle that we see in the black and brown neighborhoods. This is what they're doing to us. It's not real rehabilitation. They're putting us on drugs, to help cope or to help numb the pain.
And
And
the Amber Rose is just one of many
yes,
people
yes,
who died either in childbirth or post-childbirth or
Mhm.
giving birth to somebody.
yes,
Right? So you're out here advocating for not just Amber Rose, but for everybody, so everybody can have a, live with their family, with two parents, and live healthy, happy
yes,
lives.
yes. And then I'm also a big advocate for self love and mental health. Um, and I truly believe the model of care that the midwives and doulas have, where they're taking care of you before, during, after pregnancy, and throughout postpartum. I feel like that's very important to sustain mental health, which is what they're not trying to give us. They want to put us in these situations that we're not meant to survive. Um, and then when we do, something beautiful sprouts from it, like this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how you can cope with what you've been through.
Amber, Amber. I used to, in 2014 and up until me and Amber started dating, I used to struggle really bad with depression and anxiety. I used to have panic attacks like crazy. Just from things that were beyond my control. And it took really Amber to help me realize that, and to teach me how to love myself, because I think that's really where it starts, is self-love. And I didn't have a lot of that. And Amber just had this motherly essence to her that I was lacking a mother. And growing up, I was lacking a mother, so we tried to cling on to that motherly essence, and that's just what she had. And she was able to really get through to me and teach me methods on depression and how to feel better about myself. She was also a psychology major. She got her bachelor's in psychology. She wanted to teach art therapy, which is also what we which is also what we try to implement inside of our foundation and stuff. But she was a huge advocate for mental health. She wanted to earn her master's degree. She was set to earn her master's actually around the same time Elias was born. So she was supposed to walk on stage and receive her master's degree.
My wedding video. I'm gonna do that in a sec. Give me 5 more minutes and we're done. Sorry.
No worries. No
worries. So what can we as individuals, do to help people access the kind of healthcare that they need and that's better for people in general?
I think redirecting them towards, and really showing them what their options are, because, like you said, we don't really know what our options are. Um, and really just having that access to these options, like SaveaRoseFoundation.org. We have midwives and doulas that we personally sponsor and that we work with. I recommend them to them, or recommend them to someone that we can trust in their areas, or even just like being a partner. Being a partner was very important for me, because I was able to. Luckily, my job gave me the leniency to go to all her prenatal appointments. So I was really paying attention to what was being done, what was being said, how she was being treated. And I think as men, as fathers, as partners, we need to step into that. I know it's a little uncomfortable for us because it's not our bodies, and it's learning the female anatomy, and is a lot to learn. But I think really just showing up and showing that support to your partner is the most that anybody could do, just to make your partner feel more secure, and just so also you can be in a space to advocate and know what you're looking for while you're in these hospitals, what's being said, and things like that. God forbid somebody's in a situation like mine and doesn't know how to advocate for their partner, or even understand what happened. So I think it's just very important that we step up in that way, get more fathers involved, and teaching postpartum depression, because a lot of us fathers don't know about postpartum depression and what it does to the mind and the body, and just how much work these women are putting on themselves, and that's just something that we need to fully understand and understand better. But really just trying to find these options. I was the one that got involved when I seen how stressed out she was from the hospitals. I'm over here Googling midwives and doulas. I was the one that actually found our midwife, um, who made the discovery of Amber's health deteriorating. So just stepping up in that way is very important, and that's the most that we can do in trying to educate ourselves.
And how can, maybe it's the same answer, but how can we honor Amber Rose's memory?
We can honor Amber by making sure that this isn't happening to anyone else, and that we're stepping in as a community, because that's what we need. It takes the but it takes the power of community and understanding community. Um, I think it's very important to have that and understand that.
I'm sorry.
No, parenting. I do it all.
Trying to make a filmmaker and like be a dad.
No, I do it all the time. Elias would jump in all my calls, and
One second. I got me a little cramp.
yes.
Okay, what? I'm sorry, I'm almost done. I'm sorry. Yeah. How long? I first came here because of you. How long have you been coming to Williamsbrige Oval?
Since the first event, actually. Because where I come from, if we have a problem, we come to your front door and we settle it, we handle it like men. And I felt like that was something that I needed to do. The first press release that I had was in front of the hospital that she passed away at, which was Montefiore Einstein. We brought it straight to their front door, brought media straight there, and I felt like I needed a bigger space, and I wanted to come to closer to where Amber was first being neglected as well, and I wanted to make my presence known over here. So I held a Mother's Day rally over here, a Mother's rally, to get more people involved, to get people off of the street, so paramedics are doing their jobs, and we're not responsible for anything. So really just coming over here, and then it's a beautiful space, it's a beautiful park, it's a monumental park. A lot of advocates come to this park, and there's just so much advocacy work that gets done in this park. And I felt like it was special to us, and it's right down the street from where she was being neglected. And it's just a beautiful place, and I felt I was called to be here. So we've been here since 2020. So we've been coming here since 2020. This is our third event actually that we've thrown over here.
Why do you think parks like the Oval and parks in general are so important to like the city of New York and society in general?
Because this is where people come. This is where people come to, live and experience things, and a lot of people are cramped up inside, and parks are very important to us, and being around scenery and nature and beauty, and just enjoying the sun. That's it's very important, and I felt like this was a great park to really bring people together. The layout is absolutely beautiful. It's a great place for speeches. They have, wirings and hookups so we can hook equipment up over here, and it's just so convenient. Just such a convenient spot. Um, and I feel like we get so much love over here, and so many people that pass by just want to know what's going on and what type of events we're going on. And that's a perfect opportunity to educate people on what's going on, and while we're here. And I think this is really, home to us. It's 10 minutes away from me, and Amber's home, not far from us, and we just felt very called to be here.
That's all I have.